Hey, Drew, guess what?
What?
We're in an advertisement.
Well, that is neat.
Anchor has asked us to help advertise the platform we use for this very podcast.
Using Anchor has made it really easy for us to distribute our podcast across almost every streaming service and has helped us grow to the point we're at now.
Yeah, thanks, Anchor. You're the best.
If you have any questions about using Anchor, please reach out to us. We'd love to share our personal experience with you and help you get started doing your own podcast.
All right, let's start the show. What is up, everybody? I am Chris Sinclair, and I am joined by my fellow co-host, Drew Garrison. We are a couple of self-proclaimed booze pundits with a lifetime of industry experience reaching back to the day of washing dishes and cleaning pizza ovens, all the way to owning multiple businesses and selling some of the most exclusive brands in the world. Our goal is to walk you through today's most interesting alcohol industry headlines while sipping amazing drinks as we do it. Drew, what are we covering today, buddy?
Well, man, we have all kinds of fun stuff to go through. Of course, we're going to kick things off with what we're drinking and getting us all excited. Then we're going to get into the FDA finally talking gluten, one of our favorite topics, the lost sales that have happened with craft distillers across America, and a whiskey brand that is honoring female bootleggers. And then, of course, we're going to finish that up with our dope follows of the week. And before we get to all those stories and our dope follows, Chris, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Series 4 of Respiril. It's this great agave mezcal. I drink their Coyote. It is fucking lovely, and I just brought it into the store today, and I love it. It is earthy. Just like slightly fruity. It's got a tinge of smoke on it. But really, I like the viscosity is so oily and silky. It's wonderful.
That's so funny. I was actually crushing some of their stuff on Friday night. And they really do a great job. And it's a bunch of different producers that they've brought together in order to make their stuff. And it's just super, super tasty. And yeah, I'm super excited to hear that you have it. That's amazing.
It's really good shit. And I'm really excited about it. And it's just goes to increasing the volume and the selection that we have at the shop. I'm pretty excited about it.
You are getting to some alarming levels of agave stuff. What series did you say it was from?
It was Series 4.
Oh, nice. Which one was it again?
Respiril.
Oh, no.
Sorry,
I have it.
Sorry, the Coyote.
Coyote. Okay, so the ones that I was drinking were the Series 4, but it was their Tepestate Espadín blend, and then the Arcanio, and then just their single Tepestate, which this was fun today. Speaking of Tepestate, I was doing the CRT certification course, which is the regulatory council for tequila. And what they do is they just ensure that people are actually following the guidelines to produce tequila and honoring that appellation of origin. And part of it was put on by a major tequila brand. And they had this really great guy who was talking about that brand and everything like that. And somebody had asked a question about agave growth and like how long they grow and stuff like that, and when you can still harvest it. And he brought up, oh yeah, there's some mezcals that are like 35, to 45 years old before they harvest them. And then he said it was Tepestate, which is not true at all. And to his credit, he did tell people that he doesn't really know that much about mezcal. So that was right. Good. But then he still said that though. And, it kind of goes into like that classic sales rep role of, oh, you read that note somewhere and then you haven't really paid attention anymore. And that's like not really true because we're starting to pay attention to the process.
Yeah.
And but they're still kind of going around with that belief that like, oh yeah, that, you know, it's taking this long. It's like, it takes a long time. It doesn't take that long of time.
No,
So,
I mean Tempestate on the long end takes 25 years, but typically it's like between what, like 10 and 15 years.
well, especially now that they're starting to like semi-cultivate it,
Yeah.
and they're actually able to like protect it from the elements and things like that. And again, it's one of those situations where for the longest time, you know, people are like, well, how long has that been growing there? I don't know, maybe
Right.
17, 18 years. It all becomes irrelevant at that point. But now that they're paying attention, and again, it's the constantly growing world of mezcal and agave. And, you know, again, he did
Well, I
say,
mean, just imagine growing up in an area where you're just, wandering around roads, playing hide and seek in an area, riding dirt bikes, whatever games that you play in an area, and then all of a sudden somebody comes around and goes, "Hey, tell me about this one plant that's like sitting right here that you used to hide behind when you were like 8 years old."
right,
Like,
right.
like, how old is that? And you're like, fuck, I don't know, but I'm going to chop it down and I'm going to make some dope booze out of it.
Yeah. It's been there for 35 years, probably. Who knows?
Yeah, probably.
Whatever it takes to sell, your agave. But
Right.
yeah, that was fun. Overall, really, really great course though. And I did pass. So now I'm CRT certified.
That took long enough.
Yeah. But you're not allowed to talk about it, which is really funny.
You're not allowed to talk about being CRT certified?
Well, you're not allowed to put it on any official documents or anything. Like they make you sign a waiver that you can't like use it as a way to kind of promote yourself as like certified by the CRT. It's really interesting.
So literally the entire reason that you took this was that way you could, add it to the end of your name.
Right.
And then at the finish of it, you're not even allowed to do that.
That's correct.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. But out of it, my favorite, because there's a whole list of things and terms and conditions that you agree to. And one of them, which is like, I mean, I guess technically we would give them evidence right now, but it says never run down or denigrate the spirit of tequila or issue any disparaging comments in regards to either tequila 100% agave or tequila. So I am no longer allowed to talk shit about tequilas.
Okay, but so what does that mean though? Is that then they take away your certification that you're also not allowed to say that you have?
I guess. Yeah.
That seems like a failed response.
I do like the situation of them like coming after me and being like, you don't get to be certified anymore. And then it's like, why? It's like, because you think Sincoro sucks. It's like, I'd be like, worth it.
Deal.
Yeah. 100% in.
That's great.
Yeah. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but despite all the agave talk, that's not what I'm drinking at all. I'm actually, because it's been very hot here in the Sacramento area, but just doing a little gin and tonic, but a little spin on it, and using Mahone gin, which is the only gin that still has a DO right now, and 3 cents a gin tonic, which is a fun tonic from Greece that has a lot of different botanicals in it that you can only find in Greece and has this really interesting flavor profile. And the gin itself, I know, Chris, that you're a big fan of it.
Correct.
Because it's delicious, and it's actually made from grape distillate, and they're called like Paulada, and which is used to make essentially the champagne of Spain. But then the juniper berries that they use for the botanical infusion are actually aged for 2 years, and this obviously helps them like shrivel up and harden. But what they do is they have them sitting out on like these deck areas in harbor areas of Spain. So then salt particles eventually settle on them, and they impart like this little bit of like salinity onto the juniper berries, which then comes through on the gin after they do their infusion, which I thought
That's
is
really
which I
fucking
think is
cool.
yeah, it's just like a fun thing.
I
And
had no
then
idea about that. Yeah.
so yeah, it's just Mahone gin again. It's the only gin that still has a DO, and it also comes in like a really fun bottle that has one of those. God, I don't even know what the term is for it, but it has the loop on it, so you can like put one finger in and then
It's a
throw it
jug
over your
handle.
shoulder. Oh, there
It's
you
a
go.
jug handle.
So
Yeah.
it has a jug handle on it, and you can enjoy your gin, as it sits on your shoulder, and you just pour it straight into your mouth.
If it's Mahone, I'm down. That's great. That's fucking lovely.
Yeah. So that's what I'm sipping on.
I
And
love Mahone gin. I mean, it's honestly the only Spanish dry gin that I know of, and it still speaks to Spanish terroir and Spanish culture as a dry gin. It doesn't get lost in like the English dry gin style or the new Western style. It's certainly a gin all its own. And despite the fact that the importer talks shit to me about a cocktail competition, I still like the brand. I think it's fucking lovely. I think that he just needs to calm the fuck down and realize that people have differences of opinions, but that won't stop me from enjoying Mahone gin.
yeah, that was a weird time for all of us when that went down. And again, it's like spirits are always doing competitions within our industry, and I think a lot of them are trying to get the most out of them. Obviously that's what you're trying to do with any of these things. And then I think the prize for that was like a trip to Spain.
Oh yeah, it
And
was. I mean, it was a legit prize ish.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
but
like
it was the ask was a little intense.
it was super intense, and the prize wasn't that well clarified. The issue was the response when I asked, like, "Hey, when you're asking for bartenders to give you their intellectual property and to put themselves out and to like spend money on your products and other products just in order to compete, and your answer is, well, we only want people who care about us as much as we care." I kind of want to call bullshit on that. Like it's not up to you to decide that the people who compete for a competition are caring as much as you care, and on top of it, like it's their job too, so you got to pay people what they're worth if they're investing in you. And it just, I don't know, that was a weird response when he pretty much told me to fuck off.
Yeah, I'm gonna chalk it up to him having a bad day.
That's fine.
Yeah. But I think it's time for us to share our opinion on facts that we've heard from reputable sources.
God, I love that song.
It was good. You kind of ruined it for me at the end. But so our lead story tonight is talking about the FDA came out this past week and has now publicly stated that gluten does not survive in the distilling process, which changes their previous ruling that any alcohol product that was labeled gluten-free had to have started and from start to finish have no gluten involved in it whatsoever. This is a huge development for the spirits world. For a long time, we have been clamoring and fighting for this gluten-free trend to settle down because gluten does not survive the distillation process. And it's just really, really great to hear. So, Chris, when you saw this story, what were your thoughts?
Oh my God, I was so grateful, but then at the same time, I knew that almost nobody would read it. I was so excited. Legitimately, the only time I have ever been suspended from a job was getting into an argument with someone over gluten-free shit and cider. It's so sad, but that sort of just seems correct for me. Um, I, as a glutard myself, um, have oftentimes questioned my guests at the bar about what their sensitivities and allergies actually are. The problem is that fucking 9 out of 10 times, people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know actually what affects their bodies. They don't know what it is that makes them feel ill. They just say, well, I am celiac. And then when they go and define celiac, it's 100% wrong. Like, it is not what celiac actually is. Or you say, hey, like, what about these things have made you feel bad? And they just say, I don't know, I just had a thing one time. The issue is that being gluten intolerant and being celiac are two totally different things. Gluten intolerant, I equate more to being lactose intolerant. Okay, so you can consume milk, but it's going to be really uncomfortable for you and sort of everybody else that's involved, and that's where I fall. Celiac, on the other hand, your entire system shuts down when your kidneys and liver cannot process either an oil or a starch that enters into your system. On the other hand, you could also still be allergic to certain oils. So you could be allergic to a wheat oil, you could be allergic to a rye oil, you could be allergic to a barley oil. All of these things come from the same plants that would essentially lead you into a gluten-free lifestyle. But if you don't know exactly what it is that makes you feel like shit, and you're not actively trying to figure it out, I have zero respect for you. Mostly because I I don't know how to convince you to care about your own life. You know, like if you don't already care about your own life and you don't already want to know these things that affect your life, then I don't know how to convince you. The issue is when I try to have a conversation with you so I can offer you something or educate you and create an experience for you that is up to your satisfaction, but then you get mad at me for trying to figure out exactly what that is, the way I don't, like, kill you, or I don't know, have you shit your pants while you're sitting at my bar. I don't really know what to do. So having the FDA come out and finally draw the line in the sand and be like, okay, this is it. And it's not that gluten doesn't survive the distillation process. What it is that gluten is an organic protein. So essentially what happens when you're distilling is you're taking liquid and you're turning it into vapor. Right? So you have a volatile chemical process. Organic proteins do not undergo the same volatile process. They do not change chemical composition. So it just remains a whole. So it's like taking a rock, putting it in the bottom of a still, and then saying on the other end of the distillate, oh, this has rock in it. And you're like, well, not really. Like, there's no, like, the rock just sits at the bottom of this pot, doesn't go anywhere. It's legitimately the same thing with gluten. The problem, though, is like on the tail end is shitty whiskey makers, shitty barrel makers. They will sometimes like glue their barrels together with wheat proteins, and which has gluten in it. So you could reintroduce your gluten that way. There's only one but there is a caramel coloring that has gluten. That's part of it. So you can introduce it that way. All of these are shitty versions, though, right? Like so really, you're just looking at like terrible versions of alcohol that hopefully our listeners would avoid anyway. But just for posterity's sake, we'll put it out there.
And I do think it's important to point out that even with some of those people that are using some of these pastes and stuff like that, that the studies that have been done on them, like the amount is so minute that it would be very, very difficult for them to cause a reaction. So
yeah, it's super minimal.
So that is something to point out. Like, so we don't want to give people too many, too much ammunition there, but I definitely, agree. I've never been suspended from a job or anything like that due to my feelings towards this. But my hope is that this will lead to a bigger conversation. And you're right. I think there's largely, like most things in our industry, it will be ignored by the general public. But if we can get things changed and you can call these people out and, and actually my follow today called out The Rock for throwing gluten-free on the bottle of Terramana tequila because it
amazing.
was just, which is amazing and great. And I really appreciate that. Because it, again, these are when marketing people come up with this stuff, and I understand that it tests well and it's going to appeal to a certain person who, believes they're gluten intolerant or whatever, but it fabricates issues within our industry that don't exist. And so when you sit here and you look at these situations, and I had someone reach out to me when I posted about this story earlier in the week and kind of be like, well, I mean, and if you could have a situation where you can sell more bottles, like, and you're just changing your label, doesn't that make it better? And, doesn't everyone just want to sell more stuff? Like, why not just change your label? And I was like, well, why should this industry be dictated by marketing people and dishonest people as opposed to the legit ones, And so when you have things like a non-issue get brought into a realm where it's like you have to address it. And so the thing that I brought up to him, because he's in financial management, I was like, that'd be like one of your competitors coming out and saying, hey, we'll manage your money, but we're not going to bang your wife. It's just kind of like, whoa. What are we talking about here? Like, so now as your competitor, do we have to address the banging of wives? Or, I thought we just saw like that was, I mean, granted it happens, but like, we don't have to publicly state that we're not going to do that, right? It's like, no, you better say it, or I'm going to think that you're going to beg my wife while managing my money. Like that's like you've created this artificial problem that never existed before. And that's where a lot of my frustration comes from. And then even with people, and the most infamous, I think, brand when it comes to gluten-free is Tito's vodka, right? And the thought process behind it or I've literally heard people say this to me. They're like, I like Tito's because it's gluten-free. It doesn't give me a hangover. It's like, wow.
Okay. Yeah, those things don't equate in any way.
Right. Well, I mean, again, this is the level of people that we're dealing with. But, what I'm hoping is that the FDA with like taking these steps, then maybe there's an increased responsibility from the TTB, which manages all the labeling that happens in the United States, that they might have some different requirements coming out, or they might ask more questions or maybe not approve someone putting gluten-free on their bottle.
Well, I mean, it require already to go through it's like the same as going through getting the organic certification. Like it requires a certain investment in order to have that put on your label. So it's not that you just put it on there and TTB goes, okay, done. It's you have to go through certification. You have to get tested. You have to it has to be scientifically proven. But the fact that they felt that it was necessary, like you said, to prove that no one is banging anyone's wife is just kind of silly, because obviously that's not happening in this situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be like going to get a yogurt and your yogurt says like doesn't contain oak wood,
Yeah.
and you go, wait, other yogurts have oak wood in it?
Or
Of course they
poison.
don't.
Yeah, I mean,
You
like,
know,
you go, you go and like, oh, I buy some milk, and my milk just says, hey, there's no poison in this milk. I'm like, am I looking at the rest of the milks, kind of being like, what's up with you guys? Like, what's going on
right?
here?
Yeah, totally,
So
absolutely.
it's just, it's fabricating those issues, and again, there was a lot of celebration over the past few days with the FDA making this ruling. And again, we're still going to have the same conversations, and we're still going to have those people who tell us that, oh, I can't have this because it's made out of wheat and I'm gluten intolerant, but whatever.
Look. I mean, really, what it comes down to is it. Again, people need to know about their own health.
Yeah.
There are people who are allergic to wheat who might think that they're allergic to gluten, but it doesn't have to do with the gluten; it has to do with the wheat. Wheat oils will evaporate, so they will make their way through a distillation process. So if you are allergic to wheat oils, then that's a completely legitimate thing to be concerned about. But you have to know that. You can't just chalk it up to being gluten intolerant because that doesn't count. It's an entirely different thing. So it's up to you, the consumer, to figure out what's fucking up your life. Don't put it on everybody else to just assume that they fucking know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
Ugh.
Yo.
In our next story, and hopefully Chris pays attention to the chat so he hits our music cue a little bit quicker next time. COVID has had quite an impact on our industry, but one industry in particular that's been particularly affected is what we consider our craft distillers in the United States. Craft distilling is at an all-time high right now. It feels like, every 2 weeks a new craft distillery was opening up. But after a new study was just done by the Distilled Spirits Council of America, it found that through the course of this year, there's been a loss of 41% of overall sales, or roughly $700 million lost in revenue. And this is largely due to the fact that bars are closed, as well as distillery tasting rooms no longer being allowed to be open, and just in the restaurants closed as well. So with this kind of information and your affinity for craft distilleries, Chris, what's kind of your reaction to it? Do you have any possible solutions for this?
I don't know about solutions. What really pops out to me about this it is my surprise at the reaction of like macro distillers and macro brewers. For a long time, we watching the marketplace. I'd say probably the last 10 years. We've seen large conglomerates or larger brands sort of freak out over this new emergence of micro distilleries and micro breweries and micro wineries and micro coffee or fucking whatever it is that you got. And for 41% drop in sales for craft distilleries to only equal what was the number?
$700 million.
$700 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. But when we're looking at brands like Tito's, and we're looking at brands like Bacardi, and we're looking at brands like Jack Daniels, it's a fucking drop in the bucket. I mean, they will be individually hurt by that number, but spread across a bunch of macro brands like that, like that's nothing. So it's really interesting to me to see a segment of our industry that's been completely decimated based on the current current economic, you know, problems that we're all undergoing. Um, and to see that that small amount caused such a hiccup or force these larger brands and larger companies to really try to pay attention and try to spend exponential amounts of money just to absorb certain companies so that way they could either build them up on their own or and profit off of them or crush them so that way they weren't competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been something that has consistently come up over the past couple months, and I've seen articles here and there, and with this recent boom in craft distilleries, and again, we're talking about smaller producers and people who have only distribution potentially just in their own state or even just in their own area. Is with new places comes a lot of growing pains, and a lot of these places, they don't necessarily translate to other markets because there's not like that, oh, this is the hometown spirit, so let's go and support them. Or if they're trying to get into different distribution markets, one of the things that holds a lot of brands and companies back is if you're a producer in California and you make a really good gin, but that's all you make, taking that gin and going into a different state, even as close as Nevada, when a distributor buys from you, they're trying to buy in pallets because it makes the most sense for shipping and everything like that. Well, a pallet of a single gin is really, really hard to justify for most distributors. Now, even if you extend that into multiple gins, maybe a vodka, maybe they have one whiskey that's super young, it's really hard for these small craft distilleries to get going, and then if you go on top of that and you eliminate the tasting rooms, that's going to make it exponentially harder because, again, part of that charm. And when people visit places, they're like, oh, well, this is the local brewery. This is the local distillery. Let's go there. Let's check it out. It's part of the fabric of the community. Well, there's only so much that you can do. And then with travel being limited, again, those places being closed, there's going to be a big hit. And then if they don't have the distribution elsewhere, and maybe the product doesn't necessarily translate, where it's just, there's just times where this stuff isn't good, it makes it really tough on them. I did see earlier this week that there is actually a distillery down in Southern California that made an announcement on their Facebook that, or maybe they're in mid California, that with the current fire situation that we have going on in California right now, where the air is just toxic and extremely unhealthy to be outside, and the heat that we're also dealing with, that they're just kind of like, we don't care anymore. We're opening inside. It's safer for our consumers. We need to make money, and they're kind of throwing caution to the wind in terms of the threat of COVID, and blaming it on the threat of, smoke in the air, those kind of conditions, and the heat, and they're just opening. And I not going to be surprised to see more and more industries do that just in general, but especially like these small producers who rely on having these tasting rooms and abilities to go into the place and see the setup. And I just think we're going to see a lot more of that coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the feeling of "come get me," is something that's growing amongst people, especially in our industry, who just feel the need to exist. And my own personal feelings aside, I think it really just comes down to what their space looks like. I mean, I think going back to my personal feelings, I think that if you make a statement like that, you should back it up with why it's a wise choice, other than just a "fuck you, come get me," because that just makes the "fuck you, come get me" just makes us all kind of look bad. But if you say this is why this is a better decision, and you show how you're keeping people safe, I think that's a I think I think I think there's a pretty large gray area there where you could get a lot of people behind you to support you in that decision.
Yeah, and I mean, there are things that you can do. There's been a lot of states who have now approved the ability for these distilleries to sell directly from their distillery to people. Now, that of course that varies in every spot. Um, if you don't have that ability, you can always go to your local liquor store and be like, "Hey, can you pick up these guys to sell their product?" There's obviously all kinds of more and more liquor stores are adding online capabilities. So there are things that you can do that if you do want to see these places make it, and you don't want to have them forcibly back open and possibly put people's health at risk. There are things to do, but it's unfortunate in the sense that there's been so much growth within this industry, which you love to see, and there's going to be good places that are not going to be able to survive it, and there's going to be bad places that are not going to be able to survive it. And when you're these small companies, and these rules can come off as arbitrary and stuff, I mean, you're seeing it. Like you said, it's a drop in the bucket for somebody like a Tito's or any of these huge producers, but for these small guys, and these passion projects that they have, it's tough right now. I mean, you're a small business owner, you totally get it. You know what this COVID has done to your business as well. But you're still allowed to have people come in the door. Like these guys, right. Girls are not. They can't even do that. So it's just a real.
To be fair, if I was allowed to move my business outside, I would do that, because I think we would have a lot more success if we were allowed to do that. But we're not. So we all live within the restrictions that we have.
Yeah, totally. And in our final story, and a little bit more uplifting and kind of cool, we have this whiskey brand that is called St. Liberty Whiskey. And it is partly owned by two women who actually who started their careers with Puff Daddy and his ultra premium Ciroc. They went off to form their own company it's a spirits advisory company, investment company called Hands. And then they also became part owners in this whiskey called St. Liberty, where their focus for the rest of the year is going to be on a series where they highlight female bootleggers and what their influence was on the industry as we see it today, and how they're just pretty much underrepresented in our current industry. This is an article that you can actually find in Forbes, and we're talking about it, we're touching on it, but there's an entire interview with Aaron Harris and Dia Sims, who are these two women who run this company, and it's really cool. A lot of really good information. And again, you're one of the things that we've tried to do, at least on this podcast, is highlight different people and underrepresented people. And we have a very minimal reach. I think more people have heard of Forbes, so we definitely encourage you guys to check out this interview. But
little boutique magazine there for you.
This little boutique magazine, but you can learn about Bertie Brown, who is a black homesteader from Montana, known for her moonshine. So Chris, I sent this to you earlier. You read through it. What were your thoughts and feelings towards, to this new venture that Dia and Aaron are doing?
I'm going to bare my soul here for a moment.
Thank God.
Initially, when I read it, I was like, okay, well, who cares? It feels like a publicity stunt. But then I had to check myself, and I was like, well, you know what? Like, maybe there's actually a legit story in here that is worth listening to and worth hearing about. Because honestly, when you think, the image that pops into your mind when you think of a bootlegger, or you think of, some backwoods distiller. It was like an old white dude with a fucking scraggly ass beard and a big ass hat and some shitty ass pants. Uh, but that's clearly not what the makeup of America has been. And I think it's really important to reassert that fact because so many communities in this country have had their bootleggers, not even just in the foothills in Tennessee, but we're like even here in Sacramento. I personally know of a house that was downtown that's where it in a at that point in time was a pretty large Japanese community, and that's where people would go and get their good brandy, because those were the people who made the dopest brandy around, and it was bootleg brandy, and it wasn't something that you just go buy from the store. You had to go through there. So I think like developing these stories and really telling the history, and why this matters is kind of cool. The other part about the interview that I really enjoyed was that they called out the McBride sisters, which is a company that I really enjoy out of SoCal. It's two sisters. They and I just learned this also through this interview, which is the sisters didn't grow up in the wine industry. They embraced it and marketed the hell out of their brands and created this amazing wine brand. And for sure, the wine brand, like the wines that I consume from them, are not earth shattering in any stretch of the imagination, but they are marketed well and they are delicious and they certainly like get the job done. Like I would never kick any of their products out of bed that I've had so far. In fact, some of them are just fun, and especially in our how do I say it, in like our environment where everything is just so deep and heavy, and then we're also in this like 100-degree weather and nobody gets to be outside. Like I just want something that's like easy and fun and makes me kind of just feel good to drink it, and everything about that brand is that. And so it was really fun for me to see in the interview that they called them out and said they were taking sort of a page out of their book, which was really neat. And I think that I'm excited to kind of see what these, what these ladies have to do, and what the story is that they're going to tell, and how it comes across in marketing, and more particularly in the juice, because marketing is one thing, but really it just comes down to what's in the bottle, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and like you said, they started with Ciroc vodka, and they really built a brand behind that. And and I think it's easy to kind of scoff at something like that. It's like, oh, well, it was a celebrity vodka, it was probably going to succeed, but they really did. I know a lot of people who kind of had that mindset. They're like, you know what, it's actually not that bad. And they came up with a cool product. And I think through stuff like this and recognizing where you've been and highlighting those stories, even if it is marketing, right? And if it's like appealing to a certain story that's very relevant right now, the story is still being told. And it's something that you weren't aware of before. And there's a lot of things where I wasn't, aware of. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with and highlighting more of these people, because again, at this point, those stories need to be told. And whoever ends up being the source, as long as it's legitimate, I think it's great.
Yo.
You know who's dope? Them over there.
All right, Chris, now it's time for one of our favorite segments, and that is our follows of the week. I'm going to kick it off this week, and I'm going to start off with someone who I actually referenced earlier in the episode but didn't drop the name. And he is on Instagram. And what you're going to go do is you're going to jump on there and you're going to look up Agave Johnny. And so it's going to be Johnny, Jonny. And what he is a spirits consultant. In particular, and I'm sure you can probably guess it, an agave spirits consultant who who's from Canada, does trainings all over Canada, and really, he's kind of all over the world. And what I love about him and anybody in a position like his is he doesn't limit himself to one brand or anything like that. He's really raising the entire category. So when you follow him, like you're seeing him talk about, La Venenosa or Cascoine or Fortaleza or or Tequila Ocho, and he's talking about books, he's talking about bartenders, he's really building the entire category. I mean, basically what this guy does is he just lives my dream life of having all these relationships and being so closely associated with agave in general. And I really appreciate people like this. Again, earlier, to reference the CRT training that I did and the brand that hosted it, I always love to ask this question of people. And what I say is, if you're not drinking your brand, what are you drinking? And for the most part, people kind of give standard answers and stuff like that. But, today's example, it was like, oh, well, I really enjoy Tahona tequilas. And so I try to drink other Tahona tequilas, but I really think that our Tahona tequila is it's right up there with it. It's just kind of like, shut the F up, bro. Like, I can't take you seriously anymore. But somebody like an Agave Johnny, he's talking about everything. So then I take his opinion a lot more serious because I'm like, he really does drink all this different stuff. And so I know that I can kind of be like, oh, he recommends this. This is kind of in this wheelhouse that I want to check out. Let's make it happen. So, I just appreciate people like this in our industry because, so many people are just shills for their own stuff. And anytime that you have people who are raising an entire category and celebrating an entire category on a professional level where they actually get paid to do it, not just some, I'm a agave or a tequila connoisseur and stuff like that. Like, no, this guy like legitimately enjoys it. So that's my follow this week. Chris, what's your follow?
I get pretty annoyed, as you and I have both mentioned, with people who are unwilling to make a stand with what they like and what they don't like, and when the only thing that they like is their brand. I have zero respect for the words that are coming out of their mouth, and when they tell me a thing, honestly, 9 times out of 10, I just shrug it off. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll ask somebody who I actually trust. Like if you inform me about a thing, I'll go, okay, well, I'll ask so and so who will actually give me their opinion.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
You and I both know these people who jump from brand to brand and they drink the Kool-Aid, and that's fine. Like that's good for you and good for your job and good for the brand. But when it comes down to folks like us, which are obviously rare, it's annoying because I know you drink other shit. Just tell me something honestly, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to name a brand, but tell me a thing that you don't like and tell me why you don't like it. Some aspect, you don't need to name names, but just say, I don't like this. Like, why do you like Tahona brands? What the fuck does that even mean when you're saying that about agave? You enjoy the fact that this shit is stone crushed? Like, why? As opposed to what? Name something else that's not. Or give me a few other things that are, and add context to the conversation. I get really irritated about that. So I already followed your follow, and I'm very excited about it because I have a lot of respect for people who are just willing to actually say what they think and not be afraid of losing a sponsorship in the future. It's like those guys that I meet who are like, well, I don't want to date this girl necessarily, or go home with this girl because maybe the friend that she has in the future might be my future wife. And honestly, I just want to slap the shit out of them. And it's not just guys, it's girls.
That's an
it's,
oddly specific example.
Oh, it's a very specific example, and it's exactly what it makes me think of, and it annoys the shit out of me. You know who you are if you're listening.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's just I know that I've probably definitely closed some doors on future opportunities for myself, but honestly, those are doors that I'm totally okay with being closed. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, like you can be charismatic and you could be diplomatic about it, and but like add context to a conversation. Don't just say, "Well, this is our thing and this is what we do, so here's what I'm here for." Like, fuck you. Give me context and give me like a situational conversation. Don't just blow smoke up my ass and expect me to just accept the fucking words that are coming out of your mouth.
yeah. All right. So who are we following for you this week?
Mine is off in fucking left field. It is not booze related, even a little bit. But I got to tell you, in this time and age, and every time I come across their Instagram feed, and admittedly, their Instagram feed is sort of like a secondary thought from their TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok because I'm almost 40. But their Instagram feed is MK Razzy Barbas, MKRASYBARBAS.
Okay.
And it's a couple that just does like shuffle dance videos. And that's all they do. And they break them down, they show people how to do them, and it just makes me so happy. They're a Spanish couple. They're fucking in Spain somewhere, just fucking living their best life, doing dance videos in their apartment. And it's great. And it makes me so happy. And it's so silly. It's ridiculous. They come down to like 10, 15-second videos. And they're awesome. And if I was, I don't know, more enthusiastic, I might actually try to learn how to do those things because their videos show you how to do them. But really, it's just dope dancing in like 10, 15-second segments. And it's just like a nice pick-me-up in the day.
That is so. I'm actually really disappointed that you don't try to do any of these dances as I'm watching.
Yeah,
them.
we might have to. I might have to like find one that I could actually do, and then we might put one out. But you have to do one with me if that's the case. So
okay,
I'm not gonna do it by myself. It's gonna be both of us.
We can look awful together. I'm in.
Down.
Okay. Well, those are some pretty dope follows.
I think so as well. The Good Bottle Podcast is a production of Fluid Concepts, edited and researched by these two guys. Music is by two talented brothers and moderated, of moderate handsomeness. There you go. Leon and Chase Moore. Before we go and kill these bottles that we've been drinking, we ask that if you enjoyed this episode, please smash that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. Because, obvi.
Yeah, we're definitely crushing it today. You can also follow us on Instagram or Facebook. Just look up the Good Bottle Podcast.
If you would like for us to cover a story, or if you are affiliated with a brand that wants us that wants to be featured, please email us at thegoodbottlepodcast@gmail.com.
And as a reminder, you can purchase both of the bottles that we drank tonight on the episode. You can find those at goodbottleshop.com. And until next time.
Hell yeah, you can!
Oh, cheers, buddy.
Cheers, homie.